Chris Williams and Lex.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tendency to merge kind of intellectual discourse with physical, and I think that's a unique theme of podcasting also, or at least of certain. Let's just say what it is. Like a lot of the top podcasts, that's like a pretty consistent theme.
Mm-hmm.
For the female podcasters too, like Whitney works out, she does her podcast. Like there's a kind of merging of those things, and I think that when it comes to the discussion about anything about health, it also is beneficial if people are engaging in healthy behaviors, right? Or if they've tried things, like they're trying to be fit. I see Rhonda posting pictures of herself deadlifting now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like Peter's talking about his workouts, and he's a physician, he's an MD.
Right.
So I think it's not sufficient to just study something, right? To just look at the data and papers. I think it really helps if you're able to get in close contact with the things that you're hearing about.
But also it helps me to know whether or not you have any discipline. So there's people that think about a certain thing because it comforts their own thoughts about their decisions that they've made. And there's certain rationales that people make. They rationalize certain aspects of their life and certain things that are going on in society to sort of make up for the fact that they haven't done the work that they probably should have done in the first place. So when I see a guy that's built like Chris or Lex or someone who I know, or yourself, that I know stays very physically fit and takes care of their health, then I have more respect for them, because I go, okay, I have more respect for this person's opinion because this person is doing difficult things on a regular basis and confronting their own hesitations, their whatever procrastination, discipline issues, and the physical ability to put in work, which requires mental strength. And for the longest time, for whatever strange reason, people have had this mutually exclusive notion that a person who is physically fit is probably stupid, and a person who doesn't care about their body and only concentrates on the mind, for some reason that is admired, that this person has no ego at all and doesn't care. But that I think that person's a fool, because you don't have as much energy to think, because your physical body that you've let decay to this terrible point where your posture's down. Like, I've had some unfortunate conversations with older intellectuals that don't take care of themselves. And you realize that at a certain point they've gotten lazy physically and they don't have the energy to engage. And so they sort of repeat things that they've said over and over and over again. And when you ask them to think on the spot, they almost don't have the will to do it anymore.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. And there's a direct correlation between this ability to continue moving your body and your intellectual ability.
Yes.
I mean, you have to still go and learn and read and acquire knowledge and try hard things. You can't just work out. But I can think of a number of key examples that are historical. The greatest neurobiologist of all time, supernatural levels of ability, was a guy named Ramon Cajal, won the Nobel Prize in 1906. He was the one who first defined the synapse, et cetera. He carried an iron umbrella to work. He lifted weights. Oliver Sacks, one of the greatest neurologists and writers of our time, passed away in 2015, had a 600-pound squat. Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah, he had the state powerlifting record at one point. Just a beast of a guy. He was also a neurologist and wrote all these beautiful books about how the mind works. The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. He was behind the movie Awakenings, et cetera, et cetera. Don Kennedy, former president of Stanford, ran into his late 70s, and then after that had a hip replacement and then was doing other stuff. So Richard Axel, a Nobel Prize from Columbia University, the first person to find ways to introduce novel genes to cells. Played racquetball. I don't know if he's still playing racquetball. I'll name one more. These are incredible people, like the guy who essentially defined the understanding of the visual system and neuroplasticity. My scientific great-grandfather is David Hubel and Torsten Wiesel. Torsten just turned something like 95 or something. Maybe it's 93. He still runs. He runs slowly, but he still goes, and he is mentally sharp. So this is not an accident. This is not just a correlation. This is the anterior mid-cingulate cortex in action. And of course, cancer, a bus, or a bullet can still take you out. But assuming you make it into your 60s, 70s, 80s, movement is the way to stay mentally strong and to continue to have the capacity to learn.